Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel and give this video a like.
Check out our podcast also below in the description.
So we talked about George Kittle a lot last week, obviously. Signed his contract Friday. As first reported by Grant Cohn, John.
You give him credit?
He said he was going to sign the contract Friday. I give him mostly credit, yeah. The numbers were a little off, but if it's pass-fail, that's a pass. Absolutely.
I agree. When he says it's imminent Friday, it's going to happen, and he reports it on Wednesday. When are we playing golf? Wednesday?
Wednesday.
So, yeah, like no one else. Numbers off. Reported the deal was going to happen. Deal happens. I give him 85% of the credit.
Gets credit.
Yeah.
But it's like it's either you get credit or you don't get credit. So he gets credit.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't come away going, I think he made it up. No, you come away going, I think he knew something. The person he talked to was a little off, but he clearly knew. Good source. He'll go back to that. That source did not burn him.
No.
So then John Lynch has his press conference.
And he tweeted out the details like, source told me Wednesday, Becta freaked out. Thursday, they were going back and forth over incentives. He justified it. I saw.
In the
honestly,
end,
kind of made sense. I don't think he's like some conspiracy theorist. I think he's right.
In the end, Lynch really wanted to get it done for a variety of reasons, and he listed one of the reasons during his press conference, one that we didn't see this one coming. He compared George Kittle to Brett Favre, saying basically, and I'm paraphrasing, that Brett was the guy that he respected the most when he played the game because Favre had fun playing the game, even in the biggest, most intense moments. And he said in tense situations, you could see an exuberance from Favre that was just contagious, which is great if you're one of the best players on the team. You can be that kind of guy. It's just rare to have a great player also be the kind of guy that is just letting it loose in the most tense moments.
And if you remember, a little like the NL West when we were growing up had the Giants and the Atlanta Braves, which make no sense. I'm pretty sure the NFC North included the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because when we were in high school and junior high, I vividly remember a lot of Monday night, as the Bucs got good and the Packers were good, Buccaneers-Packer games. Which
it was the NFC Central, I think, at the time.
NFC Central, before the realignment. Isn't it weird just like, wait, the Braves and the Giants were in the same division, or the Tampa Bay Bucs and the Packers were in the same division? But
yeah, isn't it weird? Once upon a time, there was no playoffs. You were just the best team. And you won, or you were the two best teams, and one of you won the pennant.
I actually think, Guy, he's got a lot of validity to this.
Yeah.
In the sense of, at the end of the day, Favre was, as Marty Morningwig once told me, the best player he'd ever seen in the peak of his powers. Now, maybe Andy would tell you who was around Favre then, and I think they love Favre. I mean, Favre is, I think, a huge reason why Mahomes is now in Kansas City, right? Like, those guys saw something in him coming out that other guys just wouldn't see. And Mahomes, you wouldn't say – Mahomes actually has a pretty unique personality. But Favre is – when you think all-time NFL personalities, Favre would be on a short list of like Dion, Favre, right? Actually, Sherman's kind of throwing his hat in the ring. But part of those big personalities are like – they're all great players. And the one thing that makes George just this exuberant, one of the faces of the league – because you watch one episode of Hard Knocks, and we even follow in Aaron Donald's career, like – Aaron Donald doesn't have a huge personality, right? Even Khalil Mack. Those guys, they're face of the league as players, but you like part of the reason why Mahomes' upside to be the face of the league for a decade, like Peyton and Brady, like Peyton was a huge personality. Favre was kind of the everyman. Like Peyton, was Peyton the everyman? His dad was an NFL player. He was an elite player in college, #1 overall pick. He's a fucking super rich. Like Kittle has this kind of mid-round pick. Favre, second-round pick, Southern Mississippi. Now, Kittle's from a better school, Iowa, but just you know it when you saw it. Like, God, there's something there. Now, he had to back it up. Same with Favre. And they both backed it up really quick where no one disputes. He's one of the best players in the league. And to me, there's nothing better than when you have a great player who's just a lovable player. Like, that's a huge draw for sports, whatever your sport is.
Right.
Like watching one thing baseball had when we were kids, like Cal Ripken and Ken Griffey Jr. were fucking really important to the sport. Like you probably weren't meeting many people on the street. What do you think of Cal Ripken and Ken Griffey Jr.? I would say 95% of people would have said I love the guy.
Yeah, I mean they were two of the biggest sports stars of the '90s. Forget baseball stars, right?
And wasn't Favre that way?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think Kittle, he'll never be as big as Favre, even if he's like the greatest tight end ever. but has the chance to be every fan you meet, from Philly to Dallas to even Seattle. Be like, what do you think of George Kittle? They'd be like, I fucking like that guy.
You know, I think that
because I'd say Favre probably in the history of the league, at least in like we're in our mid-30s, like in our lifetime, he'd have to be like top 1, 2, or 3, like in that conversation. Like, who's the most likable NFL player, just universally, not just respected, but just like, I like watching that guy play. I'd say Favre might be 1.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have been that guy if he was the 5th, the 10th best quarterback in the NFL every year. Part of it was that his play matched his personality, that what you saw him do on the field was totally in line with who he acted like he was, right? This gunslinger mentality. You can play like a gunslinger, but not act like one. You can act like a gunslinger, but just throw no touchdowns and a bunch of interceptions. And it's like, well, cool swagger, dude, but you just got picked off 3 times and we lost by 14. Favre was...
that happens sometimes.
Well, Brett. I think a lot of guys, to me, you go to any football practice, there's a lot of guys that want to be Brett Favre, but it turns out they're not, because these guys are outliers. That to me is Kittle acts like WWE guy, but then he also plays like that guy, and just like Brett, has the respect of opponents and teammates alike. I think one thing I learned back in the years I was doing baseball pre and post game with the A's, and you're just in the clubhouse every day. When you're in a baseball clubhouse every day, you see that the guy that gets all the media attention isn't necessarily the guy that's the clubhouse leader, right? And I think baseball in particular, where it's an everyday sport, the guy that you love hearing from because the media goes to his locker room every day is not necessarily the guy that the entire locker room loves hearing from. Because, and you said this to me, like if you watch the first episode of Hard Knocks, there's a guy, and every Hard Knocks has this, right? One guy who's super loud, is all around the cameras. Was it the Chargers or the Rams?
I think it was the Rams corner.
Yeah. I don't know who the guy is. He's yelling. He's trying to get the attention of the camera. But he's the hold down
classic.
The fort.
No one's ever heard of him. He's never.
But he's not a team leader, and it doesn't. No. It just comes off kind of funky, and there's no way it's appreciated. Kittle is not that. Just like Favre was not that, and I think that's. I think part of the deal from what John Lynch is saying is like it's easy to be that guy in the locker room. It's easy to be that guy in practice. But when it really gets hard and everybody else's sphincter is tightening up, are you still that guy? Or is the whole thing an act? And with Kittle and Favre, it's not an act. They are that guy. They wish a motherfucker would be in their seat. Right?
I'd say the guy of the last decade,
as Cedric the Entertainer once said,
that really was that guy was Rob Gronkowski, right? Just this huge personality, and he was the non-quarterback in the peak of his powers, one of the best players in the league.
But
it's a little different. It gets overshadowed by
Gronk was a little goofier, I think, off the field, right? His play was not goofy.
But Kittle's play is not goofy, right?
No, but I'm saying Kittle's not. To me, there's something different. It's not quite goofy. It's more.
But I agree. There's a wrestling element.
Just something
with both
fun. Yeah, no, it's true.
There's an entertainment. Like both of them are great entertainers.
Yeah.
But we would make fun of them. Rob never would have got as big if he wasn't the best tight end in the league by a wide margin for like a 5-year stretch. And everyone just goes like, God, is that the best tight end we've ever seen? And I think George kind of has thrown his hat in the ring just like that too. Kelsey's a huge personality and has like, you got to back it up or we just think you're a clown. When you act, and you could even just be a solid starter, but it's like, bro, just calm down. When you can act like Dame Lillard when you go, I'm going to be a fucking 15-time All-Star, and I'm beating the shit out of everyone who tries to stop me. But if you're just Isaiah Thomas, you can't act like that. And there gets to a level of George, I just think is an elite player. And they got other elite players on the team, and they all acknowledge, like, God, this guy is just something different.
Well, I think part of this, too, is are you authentic? Are you, or are you trying to be something else? And I think now more than ever, because you can watch any video that's ever been posted, you can watch any interview that anyone's ever done, if you want to try and copy somebody, it's never been easier to copy somebody, right? And so it's hard when you first are around a person to know, are they just doing this because they know how it looks, or are they being themselves? And I think Kittle, Favre, right, these are guys that are just being themselves, and it works. Because they put in all the work and they're leaders.
For why Mahomes feels much more genuine than Russell Wilson, Like to me, there's a ceiling
Mr.
on Russell
Unlimited?
Wilson. I think Mr. Unlimited. A lot of people just think he's kind of a weirdo, and I think just feels a little political, right? Like a politician.
Too polished.
Yeah, it's like, bro, just like say what you want about Tom. Like there is a lot of genuine things with Tom Brady, even at this point. Like I have never once thought, you know what, Tom Brady's pretty fake, right? I just think Tom. Now he knows what he has to say and stuff with the media, but I even Peyton, like I always felt like they come across as kind of they're true to themselves. Now they feel like a little corporate, and maybe George will become that as he becomes much more famous. But I think he's got something special going where his personality, he's an outlier kind of personality, but it feels genuine and it doesn't feel forced. Whereas sometimes it can feel that way.
Yeah.
I think Draymond, was a guy that kind of separated himself that way. Like, I'm not faking this shit. I'm fucking a little crazy.
Yep.
I'm nuts. I'm going to scream it.
I tell you how much I care, but then I show you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to back it up.
Let us know what you think of this video down in the comments below.